the creators who brought you RuPaul's Drag Race and $1 Million Listing. This is World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Wow Report for Radio Andy. I'm producer Blake Jacobs, and this is our last show of 2021. So, instead of counting down the top 10 things of the week that made us go wow, I've compiled segments from previous episodes this year into the top 10 moments of the year that made us go wow. And who could forget the insurrection on January 6th? So let's get started with that at number 10.
Number 10.
You know, people ask you, like, where were you when Kennedy was shot? We are literally giving you this. Number 10 is where were you? Because it's happening right now when the Capitol was stormed by, these terrorists, these domestic terrorists. What a day. You know, we're going to get to it later, but it started, I woke up to Georgia, turning the Congress and Senate blue, and then followed by this insanity. And what do you guys, are you watching all day? Are you trying to avoid it? What's going on?
I think it's important that this isn't insanity that just happened because they flipped the state. The insanity happened as a direct result of a provocation of a match to a fire set by the president in a rally that preceded the storming of the Capitol. The so-called,
but make no mistake that he's been fomenting this for years now, and it didn't just come out of the blue when he, during the over the summer when he said stand down and stand ready. That was the first sign that he was ready to begin this process of insurrection. And I know here in Los Angeles, we've talked about, Fenton and I were talking about this, that the MAGA people have been going bananas for the past week. And there have been groups of 50 to 100 people, red hat wearers storming the various grocery stores, Ralph's, Vaughn's, Whole Foods, Trader Joe's en masse, and it just seems like for the past couple of weeks it keeps building and building and building until what happened this week, which is just absolute insanity.
Again, at this late breaking hour, and so much more will have been revealed by the time this airs, but Melania's chief of staff has resigned over this. There's certain senators. I know it's all crap, but people are at least trying. I'm trying to, again, it's too early to know how this is all going to play out, but this is people's opportunity to distance themselves in the last minute, right?
You are right that it is too early to see how it will play out, but it is absolutely crucial that we do not forgive or forget, and that Trump and his family and the Republican enablers and the people who voted for him, they all must be held to account, because I think in this moment, what has happened is without historical precedent. James.
Well, but make no mistake that the Democrats are going to do what the Democrats always do and try and rise to the occasion and say, we're going to move on. And we aren't going to, it started with Gerald Ford pardoning Nixon. And it's going to, if you think for 1 second that Biden is going to get down and dirty and do the same things that Trump would do, you're mistaken, because Biden is a gentleman and he's going to say, we must move on as a country. It's going to happen. Mark my words.
This is kind of like our putting predictions in an envelope and sealing them, because we'll find out what happened on Friday. But when you're listening to this, but the only thing I will say is they're talking about at this hour, we're still in Wednesday, and they're talking about they probably can't impeach him. They probably can't 25th Amendment him, but they can censor him as both houses, which is what they did to Joe McCarthy way back when. Again, different times, different, a lot of backlash. Twitter has banned Trump for 12 hours right now. And the only
12 hours, just 12. I mean, ban him for life, for Christ's sake. Get rid of the motherfucker.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. And the last thing I'm hoping, as I project forward, and I know nothing, and I'm playing out of my depths, but if Trump, there's also talk that he's going to, say he's running for president on like the inauguration day or something. And I'm just hoping that, we saw in Georgia, we saw in the presidential election that we're kind of like a 50%, 49% nation. It's a very tight division. And I'm hoping that Trump and this outrageous thing, it helps to divide the Republicans. I'm hoping, even if it's 10% and 40%, and then we stay 50 or go to 51 or something. So that's all. I just couldn't not talk about it.
Lovely world if that were the case. I think we're so far divided. I think the division is only going to get worse.
Number 9.
It's Montero. Is Lil Nas X video for his new single, which James St. James wrote up on the WoW Report, talking about bottoming for Satan. Yes.
Bottoming for Satan. He rides the stripper pole to hell and then bottoms for Satan. And the Republicans have gone bananas.
Canceling.
Cancel culture. Yes. Cancel Lil Nas X. How dare he? Satanism in pop music. What's going to happen next?
And not only how dare he, but how brilliantly he has clapped back.
Okay.
Not only clapped back, the way he positioned it in the first place. He tweeted out, as a teenager, my teenage years, I hated myself because of all the shit you preached would happen to me because I was gay. I hope you are mad. Stay mad and feel the same anger you taught us to have towards ourselves. It's such a brilliant fuck you. Because here's the thing. Christians use Christ to preach hatred, which is not what Christ was ever about. So why not flip the switch, turn the tables, and use Satan to promote love? It is a brilliant sleight of hand.
Well, first of all, Lil Nas X, 21 years. How old is he? He's young so brilliant at trolling the trolls. He's so good at it. But when you think about it, like all these, Christians and evangelicals and the right wingers and the pundits on Fox and everything going bananas about this. The devil has been a part of pop culture for as long as, he's in cartoons. He's in, every cartoon has a Satan, has a devil. He's been in movies and in songs, and the devil why now? Why in 2021 is all of a sudden having a devil in your pop music video considered such an outrage?
It's because these Christians aren't really interested in love and equality and Christian values. They want to control the narrative and they want to have the power, and they don't like it when you use their icons in some way other than what they consider, the devil is for burning the ass of faggots in hell for all time. That's what they want. And they get very cross when he gives a lap dance to say that he's so good. I read an article actually in Time magazine where some academics unpack some of the religious symbolism. And it's really interesting because Roland Betancourt, who's a professor at University of California, he says this is a really well-researched, really scholastic music video. And just one example, the song's cover art, it's kind of a redo of Michelangelo, God creating Adam, in the Sistine Chapel. But it's Lil Nas X sort of connecting with Lil Nas X. And in the Garden of Eden, there's this great moment after the snake appears, which is Lil Nas X. The camera pans to, I just want to find it. The camera pans to the tree of knowledge. And on the tree of knowledge is a Greek phrase that translates to, after the division of the two parts of man, each desiring his other half, which comes from Plato's Symposium, which is this story of mankind in which humans were originally two bodies stuck together. That man, some man and man, some woman and woman, and some man and woman. And that after this moment, they were split apart. Zeus got pissed off because everyone was having such a good time. And so the sort of story that this tells is really, and even a little detail where, he's in this, there's 3 acts. In the second act, he's brought into the Colosseum in a giant wig, kind of like a Christian stoning thing. He's going up to heaven, and instead of St. Peter meeting him at the pearly gates, it's Ganymede. And the thing about Ganymede was he was this youth who was so beautiful that Zeus turned him into a eagle so he would go to heaven.
Oh, interesting.
And then before he can get there, he goes down this long stripper pole, and that's how he ends up in the lap of the devil.
Getting fucked by
another quote in Latin, which translates as "they condemn what they do not understand," which is basically,
that's
Christians hate whatever's counter to the idea of white heterosexual male sensibility.
But that's the phrase that Christ says on the cross.
Yeah.
Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. Yeah.
So fuck me. Not only is it an amazing music video, it is an intellectual treatise repositioning the whole debate of or rebutting the whole idea of institutionalized hatred of gayness. I mean, wow.
It's amazing. And I will say, after all that smart stuff you just said, Fenton, he also has said that the storyboard of him chained up in the Coliseum came from a SpongeBob episode where Patrick.
So we go from high to low in the same video. I love it.
I love it. I love it. I love it. James, do you love it?
I do. I love him. I think he's just so fantastic and so fun and just such a breath of fresh air. Everything he does is just wonderful. I think he's the best we got.
Hey guys, producer Blake Jacobs here. I've compiled segments from previous episodes this year into the top 10 things of the year that made us go wow. Now up next, Wow Report contributor and Wow celebrity Trey Speegle joins us for number 8 to chat about the closure of New York City nightlife staple, the Pyramid Club.
Number 8.
The Pyramid Club, the legendary Pyramid Club, has closed. I didn't know it was still open.
Well, it really wasn't.
For 41 years, though, it was a landmark in the East Village for, drag queen culture and music and live music and performance art and everything.
But you had nights there too. What did you put on at the Pyramid Cocktail Lounge?
I was working at Vanity Fair at the time. And in a 2-month period, this is who I booked. And this was kind of highbrow, I guess, for the Pyramid. And so when I booked them, they could do whatever they want. Well, I would just introduce them. And then whatever happened. So Quentin Crisp, Cookie Mueller, John Waters, Taylor Mead, Jackie Curtis, Kenneth Anger, who wanted to show all of Lucifer Rising with the crowd being quiet for 40 minutes. Which, Fran Lebowitz, Ethel Eichelberger, John Sex, and this was I had a full-time job. I was working at Vanity Fair, and then on Sunday night I would produce this show.
And I think we need to mention that the stage was probably the size of a bathroom rug, a bathroom mat. And there were probably, you could get 100 people, 200 people in that little tiny little area right there.
Did the Pop-Tarts ever perform there?
Well, yes, as a matter of fact, we did. And I will just say that in all these sort of everybody's mourning the passing of the Pyramid, and they say, oh, the legendary performers, this, that, the other, James St. James, RuPaul, not one single mention of the Pop-Tart ever.
Well, because you're so humble here. Tell us all about it.
There we go.
We did perform a few times at the Pyramid. I do remember Brian Butterick, who was one of the runners of it. He just looked at me slack-jawed after our show and was like, that was... It was the silence that spoke volumes.
There's Brian Butterick and myself in drag.
Hattie Hathaway. What was your drag name, Trey?
Yes. Who passed away, who actually organized that show at How Happening.
Brian Butterick's
drag name.
Wait, Brian Butterick's drag name was Hattie Hathaway, right? That was the great Hattie Hathaway.
Okay, I have also some perspective here for you. So if we were having this discussion in 1981 about a club that had happened as long ago as the Pyramid did, we would be talking about World War II.
The Hollywood Canteen.
The Stork Club.
It's that long ago. It would have been like Wizard of Oz would have been 2 years old. I mean, it's that long ago. Because in the 80s, we thought the 60s were 100 years ago. I mean,
exactly.
I think what you're missing, Trey, is that we are hundreds of years old.
Excuse me again.
Well,
St. James, did you perform at, kill anybody at the Pyramid Club?
I performed at the Pyramid Club a couple of times. I was in a band called the Fags, and I was the tambourine player. And I would dress up in a little schoolgirl outfit and shake the tambourine. And we had 2 shows there.
What year was this?
I would have been like 85, 86, something like that. And then I feel like I did a show with Baby Gregor and Wendy Wild and Lisa. And we were all on stage. It was some sort of hippie thing. I don't remember. I have a picture of us all there. And it was Baby, I think, had organized it.
I've never heard your band, Fag, but first of all, take that, Little Nas X. And second, we all know that the tambourine player is the truly talented member of the band.
I have one story I do want to share, which is I just arrived in New York. I just met Randy, just started at film school, and we would skip editing class and go to the Pyramid for happy hour, where a gin and tonic was just a whole glass of gin with a tonic. But I remember this really cute guy coming in. He had blonde ringlets and really torn jeans, very sort of like ahead of his time look. And he was a graphic artist, and he designed this record cover. And it was this woman,
Martin,
sort of in black and white, holding her face like this. And I was like, what is it? He was showing it to everyone.
Martin
Oh my
Burgoyne.
God. It was Madonna's debut cover.
Yeah.
Like,
Martin Burgoyne.
Yeah,
Martin Burgoyne, bless him.
most
Yeah.
gorgeous boy.
That's beautiful boy.
Beautiful.
And Madonna had, when Martin was really sick, Madonna had a benefit there for Martin.
Hey guys, Blake here. I've compiled segments from previous episodes this year into the top 10 moments of the year that made us go wow. And when we come back, we'll be at number 7. This is the Wow Report for Radio Andy.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Hey guys, producer Blake Jacobs here. I've compiled segments from previous episodes this year into the top 10 moments of 2021 for this week's episode. And we're back with number 7, the closure of the Arclight and Pacific theaters.
Number 7.
If you had given us time during the commercial, Fenton, we should have all changed into black with hats and veils, because we are mourning the closing of the Arclight Theater, specifically in Hollywood location, the Cinerama Dome. It was kind of, I believe, the first of its kind in LA and in the world, where you could reserve your seats, which happens everywhere, but you could reserve your seats. And how many hours have we all spent? It's very LA to drive a car that you can't afford and to buy like $18 tickets to see a movie and spend $15 on caramel corn and see celebrities and your best friends and everybody pouring into the Arclight.
Well, it also, it's also was this at the theater. It doesn't have trailers. It only has 3 trailers and no commercials, and that was one of the big draws about it. I got to say, this week when the news broke, Deadline and Hollywood Reporter and Variety all sort of did it at the same time, and the way Twitter exploded, and people, I got tears in my eyes the minute I heard it, and you can't help but think of all the times that you've been there. And it's not just Cinerama Dome and the Arclight. Pacific theaters are closing too, right. And that's the Grove. And I spend every weekend going to the Grove and going to movies with my sister before the pandemic.
It's really the anchor of the Grove, actually. Someone was saying, you will go to the Grove to watch a movie and then you'll eat or shop or whatever. But if you don't have that anchor of going to the Grove for a movie,
and we've lost Regency cinemas. I mean, it's sad to think that this might be the end of actual cinemas.
I heard a conspiracy theory that's all a ploy to get concessions from the landlord so they can negotiate a cheaper rent, which they desperately need to continue in business. But
I've also heard that Netflix was going to swoop in because their theater's right next door. I mean, their offices are right next door, and they were going to try and use it. I also heard
if we do recover from this pandemic, as we recover from this pandemic, let's be positive, we will be going back to the theater, and it maybe is a business ploy. But I do, going back to our emotional reaction, I always, for me, and being an LA guy and a gay guy and a single guy, like certain restaurants, and now I realize the Arclight are like churches to me.
Yeah.
It's where you gather. It's where you see each other on Friday nights. It's where the community comes. It's where you took first dates. It's where you would go, to go to celebrate someone's birthday. It's just, it's really funny.
I had one of my sweetest dates ever at the Arclight. I will never. It was just I get choked up thinking about it. I remember seeing some of the celebrities there. I remember seeing Bette Midler one time and Tony Basil walking in, and they were both like 4 feet tall and holding on to each other like little old ladies. And it was just the cutest thing I'd ever seen. I remember seeing Josh Hutcherson there every weekend. He was always there.
I watched Jennifer's Body with Katy Perry right when she was like coming up.
Right. I remember seeing, gosh, I've just seen so many stars there over the years, and you always and you can't be starstruck because it's Hollywood, and so everyone just sort of sits. We all sat next to Robert Downey Jr. when we went to go see Freak Show. Remember, he was there. Yeah, just
one of the punters.
I've sat next to Jennifer Coolidge in a movie screening there too before.
Just fabulous.
You know, though, there is this trend where you can rent out the whole theater for you and 20 of your socially distanced friends for like a couple of $100. I mean,
I don't believe in that.
No, because our agent, Jonathan Swaden, accidentally texted me saying, let's go. And he wasn't inviting me. I was like, well, let's go where? What? And he's like, oh, I didn't mean you.
But anyway, that sounds like an amazing birthday party that you or Randy would throw that we get invited to. So I'm holding on. I'm waiting for you guys to invite us.
You get invited too. I don't get invited to those anymore.
We haven't had a party. James, we haven't had a party in years.
Wasn't there that story about Faye Dunaway always going and treating it as like her office?
Well, she used to go and she would never pay, and she'd say, "I have an Oscar," and she'd just walk right in.
And she set up her newspapers all around her and like take calls.
Now is the time for me to tell my Faye Dunaway through the stapler at my head story.
Yes.
When I was working at Bookstoop, and she was there, and she was asking about a book, and I couldn't find it. And she grabbed the stapler, and she threw it, and it hit me in the head, and I was bleeding, gushing blood.
And I feel as a documentarian of your life, James, I need to tie together to people your strange behavior now and the head injury you received from Faye Dunaway at Bookstoop.
Thank you, Tom Burns.
And in the book that celebrates your life, Tom Hanks will recite this story. I was there in Bookstoop when Faye Dunaway. What did you do when that happened?
I think because I had made this whole big thing about how when Faye Dunaway walked in and everyone said, "I'm not dealing with her. I'm not doing." And I was like, "Oh, I will, Faye. Oh, Miss Dunaway. Oh, Miss Dunaway. How can I help you?" And she wanted me to look for this Spanish author, and I think I mispronounced his name, and she called me an idiot, and that's when I realized.
But I have to say, politically incorrect as I am, today, as a young person, you could sue her.
Oh, yeah, true.
And now you just have a great story and a concussion that's changed your personality. But so what?
And maybe it's not too late to sue anyway. Maybe you should go.
What is the statute of limitations
on a stapler offense?
Stapler assaults.
So for this week's episode, I've compiled segments from previous episodes this year into the top 10 moments of the year, 2021. While Celebrity Trey Speegle is back for our number 6, a new car color that is sweeping the nation, Nardo Gray.
Number 6.
I just want to quickly follow up on something we talked a bit about last week. I was going on about the color of cars, and I've noticed that all the cars were in the 90s started going silver and then gray. And then what prompted this was noticing a new kind of gray. Well, I didn't know what it was called last week when I did the podcast. And I've done some more sort of deep dive on Google. And this kind of color is called Nardo gray. I don't know why it's called Nardo gray. I'm still not able to find out why. I thought maybe it was Leonardo, like Nardo, short Leonardo gray. I don't know. But Nardo gray was a gray color launched by Audi for their high-end cars. And it just took off like wildfire. And James, you said, oh, yes, billionaires wrap their cars in these things. Well, you're sort of right, because the demand for this color was so intense that Audi couldn't any longer control it and monopolize it. And it's become available in vinyl wraps, which is the thing where you get your car, instead of repainting it, you get it wrapped in vinyl. And it looks just like a paint job. So,
well, I'm looking on Urban Dictionary right now, and I see that a Nardo is a kind, beautiful, hot, smart, and confident bestie who will always have your best friend. But it's also a kind of sweet bundle of candy. If you get a Nardo, it's a sweet bundle of. And I'm wondering if the wrap of the candy or something is maybe where that comes from. It's also a city in Spain. I don't know. I'm just throwing all these things out here.
Well, Nardo gray is also known as, sometimes it's called battleship gray or primer or unfinished gray, because it's normally.
Is it matte?
It's normally an undercoat. No, it can be glossy. It can be glossy or matte. But Trey, it's a kind of paint that is very flat looking. It's not about its glossiness. It's just got a certain amount of white in it that it feels very chalky and very solid. It almost actually looks like it is vinyl, sort of. And it's so hard to describe, but it's.
What, you saw it on an Audi in person?
It's not, now you can see it on
Fenton has
Audi.
been seeing them every time he walks out the door. He sees this.
I just see Nardo Gray everywhere. It's Nardo Gray.
It's an LA thing, maybe.
It might be an aneurysm, but
are you smelling copper?
You're witnessing a senior moment here. No, just Google Nardo Gray in images, Trey, and you'll go, oh, that it looks. I think it makes cars look like toys, like toy models, like children's toys. But I just can't find enough out about it. And some people love it, and some people hate it. It's like
do you know this color called Vanta Black?
Yes, that's super black.
Yes, that is the artist Anish Kapoor.
Yeah,
bought the patent to it, and apparently it's 99.9999. Like it's the blackest thing in the world. So if you paint it on the floor, it looks like a hole. It looks like a black hole to the
it absorbs
end of the universe. And he made all the artists mad that he's monopolized this paint. But I was imagining a Vanta Black car.
But this is maybe this is the grayest gray. I don't know. It's. Have you seen any cars, James, with it since I've been around?
The one that I always see the matte black that looks like a Batmobile. It's very matte and it's very black, and I see it in matte gray. So it might be the Nardo gray. I don't know. But the color I see this weird orange that I see it all orange, like orange Mercedes, orange Audis, orange. I see that all the time lately. It's a very vibrant orange, and it seems like a new color that's sort of coming onto the scene.
James, you know that I like Soviet bus stops, and I feel I've now become obsessed by car colors because, you know, like that sort of green, racing car green, that sort of bottle, it's like a lovely dark green, and that's always associated with British racing cars and sports cars. Did you know that?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, that ruins my story. But basically,
do you know what you're talking about? Yes. Oh, the green from the sports cars.
Oh,
yes. British racing cars.
Now. Thank you. It happened because white and blue had been taken by the US as racing colors. Germany and France had taken other colors. So the only color that was left was green. And motor racing was illegal in the UK at the time. So all the races were held in Ireland. And because it was Ireland, which is known as the Emerald Isle, they painted the race cars green. And that's why these dark green racing cars are always associated with the UK. Who knew?
For this week's episode, I've compiled segments from previous episodes of 2021 into the top 10 moments of the year. At number 5, billionaires go to space.
Number 5.
There's a lot to unpack here.
Let's just talk about the big picture for a second. Can I? I'm sorry.
Please, go. Hijack it.
And I always don't like those, why do people drive nice cars when people are starving in Africa? I always think it's like you're just sort of putting two things together. But why are billionaires rushing to go into space in some kind of lark, in some kind of like it's yacht mentality taken to like space, right? It's like, how much money can we spend? I think I'm happy to be wrong. It just boggles the mind when there's so many ways that we could be spending our money. I also saw a meme recently that said of all the billionaires in the world, there's like 271, none of them became Batman. None of them are heroes. They're all just like doing it for themselves.
They're all Lex Luthors is what they are. They're all evil super villains.
Are you that for people who don't, we're on video as well as on the radio, but I think even people listening to us on the radio heard your eye roll during my last
but I'm glad that you set it up like that because I'm ready to knock it down.
That's why you're here, James.
I believe I agree with you that there are a million things that they could have done with the money. Childhood cancer, the homeless problem. I mean, there is so much happening in the world right now. The world is burning down. Climate change. We just need to, but believe in my heart of hearts that we can walk and chew gum at the same time. And I think that there is enough that they're only spending a minuscule amount of their billions and hundreds of billions of dollars on this. And I honestly believe that as we burn this world down, we're going to have to get off of it at some point. We have put space travel aside for too long. In the 60s, it was go to the moon. And then we got to the moon, and then it stopped for 40 years. And nobody did anything except for the space shuttle. And I believe that it's.
And what do we have to show for that? Tang, air mattresses,
moonwalk shoes.
But I honestly I don't mind the fact that they're racing. If we can get people invested in space travel again, I think that's a positive thing. I think that we're going to need to go to Mars in the next 10 years. I think that all these things have to happen. But
would it be easier? I listen. I can play both sides of this record.
Yeah.
But lately it's upset me. I don't know why. But what about making Earth habitable? Like, instead of like the red planet that's far away that takes ever to get there, why don't we learn how to make Earth work without oxygen?
Well, but like Richard Branson said when he came down, he said that, like a lot of astronauts, when you see the big marble spinning in the sky from that far up, you have a revelation, and you have a newfound appreciation for Mother Gaia. And he says that he's going to spend the rest of his life trying to make sure that he addresses things like climate change, and he feels more at tune with the Earth, having seen it from above.
Well, I hope his actions match those words.
I do too.
I've seen the blue marble in pictures, and that's enough for me. I've seen alligators on TV, enough to know stay away from alligators.
Wait, so you would never go
be in the jaws of an alligator to know that?
I just want to say, like, there's this series of tweets that Sim_Kern posted. I'll post it on the WoW Report. She is a spouse of an astronaut. It's about how hard it is to live in space, and how this one guy, the guy that stayed in space the longest, was only there for a year. Scott Kelly. He spent a year in space, got home, and immediately retired. He spent all his life preparing and training to be in space, and found it extremely physical and psychologically grueling to be up there for just 1 year.
Well, it's hard to poop in your space diapers, 24 hours a day, every day for a year. And
but
you
what
also
she's saying
lose out.
is, like, there's never going to be a time in our lifetimes when living on Mars is going to be at all fathomable. So we should, like Tom said, like Tom said, fix the Earth, and live on the Earth where we are able to, like, breathe and walk and
whatever, Blake. Neither one of you would go up in the space shuttle or go on this trip. It was only for an hour he was up there. You wouldn't do it for an hour?
If it was a good skin treatment, or if it like made your lips fuller or your cheeks higher, I might, but otherwise no.
I'd go after millions of other people had already gone, and that's not going to happen.
You wouldn't be the first people to go live on Mars. I would.
No.
I totally would.
Mm-mm.
You're braver than we are. For all we know, you're visiting from Mars.
Yeah.
And you have like an ulterior motive.
I've compiled segments from previous episodes this year into the top 10 moments of the year. And when we come back, we'll continue the countdown with number 4. This is the WoW Report for Radio Andy.
You're listening to World of Wonders WoW Report. Things that make us go wow.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I'm producer Blake Jacobs, and I've compiled segments from previous episodes this year into the top 10 moments of the year that made us go wow. And we're back with number 4.
Number 4.
Earlier, I was gushing over Joni Mitchell, Bette Midler, Lorne Michaels. I am now gushing over, it's harder as you become more mature to absorb pop culture music in a way that is joyous. There's an artist that I have found that I love, Olivia Rodrigo. Obsessed.
Love her. Yes.
I don't know what it is about her. I have Radio XM, Sirius XM, and I think channels like 2, 3, and 4 are like hit songs and divas and Soul Cycle, and I purposely listen to them, force myself sometimes, because I'm always listening for songs that could be good lip syncs on RuPaul's Drag Race, and they make very few new songs that are good lip sync songs because they're the right now it's very folky, very vibe, very Billie Eilish. And Olivia Rodrigo's first single license, driver's license, which is so beautifully written, is really mellow. And then she had Deja Vu, which kind of had a beat. And then she did Good For You, which is this incredible.
I don't know. Good for you.
Good for you. It's all about how she's very influential. She's 18 years old.
Yeah.
He got a record deal right before the pandemic hit, like the week before. It's like, you got a record deal. And she spent all of quarantine writing songs.
And she's writing songs that are about her life and her boyfriend and the breakup with her boyfriend. And it's very confessional, and that just makes it even better.
And it's a little it's very influenced by Taylor Swift. And Taylor, if you're listening, please call. Let's talk this through. But Taylor Swift, I think, is an amazing artist in terms of creating pop, but I'm not in love with her voice or her, I don't get lost in Taylor Swift's vocals. I think she writes great pop songs and country songs, and can I not deny her? But I just, for whatever reason, she's not gotten under my skin. Olivia Rodrigo has gotten under my skin, and yet they're similar. But there's also, and I said this before, I feel like there's some Joni Mitchell in Olivia Rodrigo. I know that's a sacrilege because Joni Mitchell is a god among men, but I just feel like there's something deeper going on, or something smokier, or more, I don't know, emotional.
You definitely want to see where she's going with this career, and you definitely want to see her at age 30, at age 40, at age 60, see what Olivia is doing. You get that feeling that she's in it for the long run, unlike that one that you used to like, Benson, that Meghan Trainor girl who just came in
a little quiet lately. That's true.
She had that one hit. I saw that she sold her house to like Kelly Clarkson or something for $15 million. And I was like, how in the hell did Meghan Trainor get a $15 million house? But that's not her
writes her songs because she writes other people's songs. She's a hit maker. She's a hit machine and an artist.
Well, I definitely respect your choices, Tom, because I remember you were singing the praises of Ariana Grande very early on.
Never let us forget it.
And we were poo-pooing you, and you quite rightly got, you told us.
I do want to say with Olivia Rodrigo, though, that first time you hear with the segue into the red light, green light, I still see your face. And I always think of that Saturday Night Live skit where the macho guys are sitting around talking about it, and they're playing it, and they all start singing it, and their minds are blown when it goes into that part of the song, and they're all like, "Do you think that he really did write the song about her, and she really does drive past his house?" And like everyone is so involved in Olivia's life, and it all started because isn't she on High School Musical, the series? Isn't that where this started?
That's where she started. She wrote a song for that got really popular. She thought, hey, I can do this.
And her boyfriend really did. They used to drive around together in the car. And then now he dropped her for the other woman on the show, I think is what it happened.
So good.
It's the same with Billie Eilish, right? Her boyfriend, didn't work out. That's in the documentary a lot. These guys who make these terrible mistakes.
Wrap her up. Billy's over.
Oh, it's a tough one. Don't wake things up too early in the morning.
Billy and Megan, take a hike.
We're going to move on to number 3. James.
Number 3.
I want to talk about Days of Our Lives, which has gone off the rails. It's bananas. Days of Our Lives is revisiting the Marlena Possessed by the Devil story from 25 years ago, which was a pivotal moment in soap opera history. What?
It was the only time I ever really watched soap operas, was the one summer when she was possessed and Eileen Davidson played the twins, Kristen and Susan.
Well, Eileen Davidson ended up playing Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Eileen Davidson ended up playing 15 different parts on the show. She had 15 different roles that year. But that was 25 years ago. That was in the 90s. And that was Dr. Marlena Evans. And Satan possessed her. And she had glowing yellow eyes. And she would levitate off the bed. And she spoke in a voice like this. And she killed the local priest and set the church on fire. And it was just bananas. It was crazy. And it lost millions of viewers followers at the time because people said it was just outrageous. But then it gained millions more. So it's always been this sort of like people love it or hate it. Whatever. So now, 25 years later, we have Doug, who is played by Bill Hayes, who has been on the show since the 1960s. He's 96 years old, and he is still on the show, and he still gets plot lines, and he still has storylines, and he still has, usually at that age, they wheel you out for birthdays and funerals and whatever, but he is on the show all the time. God bless him. Well, all of a sudden, one day, he locks his wife, Julie, in the meat freezer at work. He owns a restaurant, and he locks her in, and he walks away, and everyone's like, what's going on? And then he starts forgetting names, and we think it's an Alzheimer's story, and we think that's where he's going. Well, he goes to see Marlena. Well, first of all, he's standing at the elevator, and Jackie Harry is on the show now. Jackie Harry is absolutely fantastic, and he's talking to her, and all of a sudden, he grabs her ass. This 96-year-old man, and Jackie turns around and slaps him and says, Doug, did you just grab my fanny? And it's this whole big, and he sort of stands there smiling. And so he goes to see Marlena, who is the psychiatrist. And Marlena says, Doug, why did you lock your wife in the freezer? And all of a sudden he starts talking like this. And he says, the bitch had it coming. And he said, it was the most fun I've had all week. And she's like, what? And then all of a sudden his eyes start glowing yellow. And he says, Marlena, it's been 25 years. If you think I didn't come back for you, you are wrong. And all of a sudden he falls to the floor and he starts flopping around, this 96-year-old man, and he's flopping around, and he says, I have to, I've taken over Doug, and if you want me to get out of Doug's body, I go into you. So now, all of a sudden, Marlena her eyes turn yellow, and everywhere, all around all the other characters are like, did you just feel a chill? and it looks like a storm is coming, says everybody. So that's how they have kicked off their October storyline. And everybody seems to be involved, and it's just absolutely magnificent, and I'm having so much fun with it. I think if you've never watched a soap opera before, now is the time to join Days of Our Lives.
Well, I really hope they get the devil out of her by Christmas.
Well, they say it's a 6-month storyline. It's going to go on for 6 months. But I think it's, God bless Doug, Bill Hayes, the actor who plays Doug, who's 96 years old. I want him to get a daytime Emmy for it because when else is he ever going to have a chance to get in? Yeah.
Does the actress who plays Doug's wife, is that the same actress?
Susan Seaforth Hayes. And in real life, they are married. They got married in the 70s, and they've been married for 50 years, and they have been on the show together for 50 years as husband and wife.
Two things I have to say quickly, I'm sorry, is that they were on the cover of Time magazine about soap operas in the 70s, which I knew about it. And I remember my mother didn't watch many soap operas, but sometimes when she ironed, she did. And I used to put her ironing board. This is before I was in kindergarten. And she watched Days of Our Lives. And I think Susan Seaforth was married to somebody else, that character. And she had Doug come over in the middle of the afternoon. She put on a record and they made love. And I was hot and bothered like a 4-year-old.
Well, he was very handsome. And she has been on the show since the first episode. So
amazing.
James, do you watch it every day at a certain time?
Well, I DVR it. I DVR that, and I DVR General Hospital, and I do them every single day. Since 1975, I think, is when I started.
Wow, I have never watched Days of Our Lives. I gotta start.
Now's the time. Now's the time to rejoin.
Sounds like it. Yeah.
Well, like I said, Jackie Harry is on it now, and Marla Gibbs plays her mother. So it's like 22. What is it? What was
227?
227. So it's a revisitation of 227, and they are hysterical. And there's hot guys and
Living Color once did a parody of 227 called Tutu Ethnic, but that was their joke.
Do you think Passions came out like right after that? The other
yeah.
Do you think that was kind of like not a spinoff, but like because of the Supernatural fans? Like,
and they did have many Supernatural. They had Hecuba, they had Tabitha and Dora on that show.
And the orangutan.
Timmy, and the orangutan nurse, yes. A nurse, or an orangutan dressed in a nurse's outfit, who was an actual nurse on the show.
Take that,
an actual orangutan was a nurse?
Yes, and they really didn't even address it. It was just they would come in, the orangutan would come in and give someone a thermometer and take their temperature and then walk off the set.
Watch Days of Our Lives daily on NBC. Check your local listings, or you can stream it on Peacock.
Hey guys, it's Blake. I've compiled segments from previous episodes this year into the top 10 moments of 2021. At number 2, Vax is the word.
Number 2.
Every year, there's a word of the year. The Oxford English Dictionary releases its word of the year. And do you know what the 2020 word of the year was?
Insurrection.
Oh, pandemic. I don't know what.
Give us a hint.
Well, you would think it would be COVID, but no, they actually were unable to arrive on a word of the year. There were just so many words flying around that they just decided to describe the whole year as unprecedented. This year, however, what do you think the word of the year for 2021 is?
How can you? That seems. Wait a second. There were too many words to make a decision.
Yeah.
This is the world we're living in.
Too many
Make
words.
a decision, right?
Well,
Too many words. Too many words.
Made a decision for 2021,
Wait,
and I'm
you
asking
mean
you.
new words that have entered into our vocabulary that now we get to pick to which one is the most popular? Like
Just the most impactful, the word of the year. What do you think it is? It's not
well, don't get mad at me. I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know.
Okay. No one's going to say, okay, it's Vax. Vax is the word of the year. If you just looked at your cheat sheet, James, for the show, you might actually have got a clue.
How dare you?
Yeah, how dare. And then there's all sorts of variants. That's what's so exciting about Vax as well. There's many variants. Like COVID itself, there's many variants. What do you think an anti-faxer is? Anti-faxer.
Oh, someone who just won't listen to the facts of that.
That's exactly
about
right, James.
about
And
virus.
vaxident. What about a vaxident? If you have a vaxident, what do you think?
That's when your fax paper gets jammed in the fax machine.
That's when the microchip that they're injecting in you goes awry.
It's
When the
when
needle breaks.
you have a car accident as a result of having gotten the shot. You're suffering.
Nobody has an accident. You know,
Accident.
I have an aunt though who was bitten by a monkey when she was in Africa, and she got monkey madness and was driving her car and blacked out and hit the car against a tree.
Was it a
She's a
fatal
liar.
accident?
No. This happened like 6 months ago.
Oh, okay.
So she had monkey madness. I think that might be the one of the words of the year.
I don't believe any of that, but I loved hearing it.
And then a Vaxstar, if you got a Vaxstar, you can intuit if someone has had the vaccine. Like gaydar, but Vaxstar. And then there's a vaccinistas, are people who boast about getting their shots and post Instagram selfies.
What is your
injected.
source?
What?
Your source.
We want a
My
source
source
on
is
this.
the Oxford English Dictionary.
If this were RuPaul's Drag Race challenge, those would all be. I would have to have 2 of those lip sync for their life because they're really bad.
Yeah.
How about the inoculati?
This
That's
Vaxstar is someone really reaching. I think
Yeah.
just someone in the Oxford Dictionary is like smoking.
I'm sorry,
a
my dear.
doobie.
No.
A new
That's
addition
okay.
this year is the inoculati, which is a variation of Illuminati, right? The elite.
They're
The
just they are
inoculati.
getting high in the office and making this shit up. Ain't nobody talking about the inoculati.
Yeah, well, I'm just trying to expand your vocabulary. All right, that is the word of the year. By the way, we can look forward to Pantone will be releasing in a few weeks the color of the year.
Big
for
color of the year.
2022.
That is always a big get on our show.
I hope it's navy blue.
Hey guys, producer Blake Jacobs here. I've compiled segments from previous episodes this year into the top 10 moments of 2021. And when we come back, I'll reveal the number one thing this year that made us go wow. This is the Wow Report for Radio Andy.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Welcome back, guys. I'm producer Blake Jacobs, and I'm bringing you the top 10 moments of 2021. And we've reached number 1.
Number 1.
Britney's conservatorship is over. James St. James, take it away.
Well, the beauty of it is that, well, first of all, she thanked the Free Britney movement that helped put this into the national spotlight and helped it come to pass. She has since said that she doesn't know if she's ever going to perform again, but she has since taken space at a studio saying that she might want to make music again. She said she might want to have children again. She's going to get married to the man of her dreams. She might move. And just today she was on her Instagram, or just this week she was on her Instagram saying that she had her first glass of champagne ever for her birthday, and it sort of like chokes you up a little bit thinking, this woman who is almost 40 years old has never been allowed to have a glass of champagne on her birthday. And so the freedom that she feels and the happiness, that just the joy that's surrounding this is it's hard not to get caught up in the momentum of it. Does anyone else have anything else to say about this?
I'm happy that she's back out in the spotlight. I love that this last weekend she went out to Catch, which is a paparazzi hotspot, and people were kind of giving her shit for that. But I think she's earned it.
She can do whatever. If she never wants to perform again, if she wants to live on a mountaintop or an island, go do it, baby. You have earned it.
I really want.
I wish her only the best. She's had issues in the past. I hope she, and I don't need to know what anything is. I just wish her peace and serenity and a long life. And I do think, I guess, along the lines of a Taylor Swift in a different way, or in Listen Not Sex, Britney could write her future however she wants in the music industry. If she wanted to record and not tour, if she wanted to tour and not record, if she wanted to release one song and album, I think the world, and Britney is an artist. Whatever you say about her, I love her music. I love her songs. They age very well. And I would love to have more from Britney. Whatever she wants to do, no pressure. But the world would be a better place with more Britney.
I was talking to someone and they were saying they're not sure if they know. Does Britney know how big she is? Do you know what I mean? Because she could call up anyone. She could call up Adele. She could call up Oprah. And they would be throwing themselves at her. And I don't think she knows that or believes that.
I hope she doesn't end up in Oprah's rose garden. Oh, God.
But I think, Tom, I think you're absolutely correct. I think she has the ability to redefine the music industry in whatever she wants to do.
Which may be nothing, and that's okay, too.
Or in 20 years, she might want to put out one song. And
I really think she'll release some new music, because I really think that now she's happy again. She's going to want to do it. And then when she does that, she'll probably going to want to do at least a show or two, right?
Well, maybe there might be trauma associated with her,
we don't know.
Well, yeah, all at her own pace.
But I wonder if she ever dated Jake Gyllenhaal. Maybe there's something there.
Her fiance is absolutely spectacular, though.
There was a New York Times piece on him, which I didn't read yet, but he's getting. It'll be interesting to see. It's hard for the spouse of someone as famous as Britney Spears to fare well in the public eye. So so far so good for him. So let's hope he hangs in there too.
Yeah, and I wish only good things for Britney. I do have apprehensions and anxieties, but
But you go through life like that, Fenton.
I know. I was going to say you have been poo-pooing this Free Britney thing since the beginning. So,
yeah, I think in some respects the Free Britney movement was uninformed and fact-free, and
look at where it got us.
And I think the situation is more complex than is being taken into account right now. But
you naysayer, the penny, the sky is falling.
It isn't, because the show's over. We've run out of time. Yay!
Thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode, our first of 2022. Until then, go out and do something that makes the world go wow.